this now?
It's a 2020 Silverado 2500 HD L5P Duramax.
What lift is on it?
It's a mixture of, it's a full throttle suspension, 7 to 9 kit, set at 8 inches with supporting components from Cognito, control arms, and some steering bits. So.
With gigantism?
Yeah. Sometimes it is. It's like little big, you know. There are definitely bigger trucks out there, and there are definitely smaller trucks out there.
I have here with me my best friend, Brock.
How's it going?
He's gonna show you all his little tips and tricks for removing the pointy little studs.
Spike lug nuts.
Spike lug nuts. Everybody loves these things now. But the thing is, they're kind of expensive and pretty and delicate.
Yep. So I guess we can start with that. The reason I chose these, there are several brands. The reason I like these is because this is actually a threaded-on cap with a special lug nut, so you don't have to have, you know, a socket that's this long or whatever to get them off. And normally you would have to like put on like a rubber glove or something and unscrew everyone by hand. But my little secret sauce invention that I have here is I have my handy rigid impact driver, and then I got a socket and a piece of rubber hose to grab it, stick it in there, and what would normally be probably a 15-minute job to get all of them off is about 30 seconds per wheel. And my other handy tool, a small box for everything to drop in.
Genius. Just a box, huh?
Yeah, just a box. Wow. It's fancy. It's probably a Chinese box, but it still works, you know.
How long would it take with doing it by hand?
So I actually started doing this on my last truck, which had similar ones in a different color. And before I did that, I did it by hand, and it would take me, if I really had to guess, probably 3-4 minutes to get them all off by hand. And by the time you get to the fourth one, your hand's cramped and you're tired, and you wonder if you're tightening them enough by hand when you put them back on, depending on which way you're going. So this is just way better.
That's just an awful experience.
And I will say, so these are anodized. Try to avoid, you know, spinning the rubber on there if you're going to do this. If you have powder coated ones or something like that, your mileage may vary. So if you mess yours up, that's your fault, not my fault. You've been warned, and here we go. And it's that easy, but you want to zoom in here because on these lug nuts, you see there's a little rubber O-ring, and that actually helps hold tension, but sometimes they like to walk back a little bit, so just pay attention and push them back on. And if you ever damage one, just go to Harbor Freight or somewhere cheap, and an O-ring assortment is like $4 for more O-rings than you'll ever need in your entire life.
So it also help vibration if it's driving down the road and you didn't get it fully tightened, it won't just vibrate and fall off on somebody?
That's exactly it. Everyone's biggest fear, you know, it's just a tiny little, I want to say it's bigger than an M6, probably an M7 or M8 stud threaded onto a, you know, cut onto a steel lug nut. And if you didn't have something holding that tension, you know, the vibration over time would probably, you know, cause problems. The cool thing is you can order these in packs as small of 4, so it's not the end of the world if you do lose one, but I've never lost one doing it this way. So I guess next we'll take the wheel off. So the big boy here, one thing I can say, if you have custom wheels, again, these are cheap. This was a set from Harbor Freight or Amazon, I don't remember, of lug nut sockets. These holes are very small. There's very little clearance here. So if you're doing it, or if a tire shop is doing it, they're going to use a regular wheel socket most of the time instead of one of these that's thin wall and it has the plastic sleeve to keep from damaging the paint on your wheels. This has been done a few times, and it's just super important. Otherwise, it's going to get messed up. And I say, even if you let the tire shop do it, buy one of these, bring it with you, make them use it if they don't have one. Otherwise, they're going to damage your wheels, and they do not care. So, and it's really simple. It's just a plastic sleeve. You can see it'll spin on there, and just works great. So, lock and load here, and you can see what a tight fit that is. If I had a regular socket on there, I would be messing up the paint on these wheels so bad. And this thing's awesome, by the way.
So what's the price on some of these wheels go? What size is this?
This is a 24x14 with a, I think the offset's -76. It's a, you know, it's a typical offset for this, you know, wheel size. I can't really speak to that because I got this style on clearance because it was discontinued, and so I got a really good deal on them. But
So what's the approximate price someone would want to pay retail for some of these?
Well, so this is a rotary forged wheel, which is the same as flow forming. So it's not as, I don't want to say cheaply made as a cast wheel, but it's not a true forged wheel. It's the same manufacturing process as a lot of like one-piece performance race car wheels. Realistically, depending on where you're going and the brand, a wheel with this type of construction is probably $3,000 or so for a set of 4, give or take.
I wouldn't want to mar them up with some cheap sockets.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is a cheap socket actually, but it's the right tool for the job. It's definitely not cost prohibitive to be able to do this if you really want to. God, this thing is such a champ. I love this thing.
So what kind of ooga dooga force that thing's putting out?
I don't even remember how much it does, but a lot. I put it up against Kyle's Hilti. I put it up against some friends from Milwaukee's. Really, the reason I got it is our other friend Nathan has a whole bunch of rigid tools as well, so we can swap and borrow and that sort of thing. And if you get it from Home Depot, there's a lifetime warranty even on the batteries. So
well, it doesn't look like it's having any problem with that.
No, not at all.
Ryobi can go up against.
Yeah, we could do the thing, the impact gun wars, where you weld 2 sockets together and you put them both on high and see which one lasts the longest.
Nah, I don't want to do that because I got to pay for that.
Yeah, mine's under warranty. They'll fix mine. So, all right. Well, that's done. Let's pull her off, and then we'll do the other side.
How much does that thing weigh now? That whole wheel tire assembly. As big as it is, I'm sure it's not light. We're talking about 100 pounds.
Probably at least, if not more. I mean, it's not unmanageable, but I mean, it's 38-inch tire on a 24 by 14 wheel, so it's, it can be kind of a pain when you're putting them back on. But
how many miles you got on this thing?
These tires, see, the truck has I hit 23,000 on the way here actually, and I want to say it's right about 10,000 miles on them actually. So, doing well so far.
Yep. So that was one tire.
Roll it over here.
All 4 is going to be pretty much the same. So for tire rotations, 2 got to go straight back, and 2 have to be crossed as they go to the front. Or is that the other way around?
Actually, the other way around. They crisscross to the back, and the backs go straight forward. So the one that was on the left rear that we took off, I'm about to take this back there and bring that left rear up here so we can put it on the front and get it back on the ground.
Sounds good.
Another quick word on that. So, and it's really more of a preference and a styling thing. You'll notice this wheel has straight spokes. It's non-directional. A lot of times on high-end wheels, they'll have a directional spoke. So if you do this, you end up with, one wheel facing forward, one facing backwards, and that sort of thing. So in that case, most people that have those just stay same side, front to rear. But the real correct way to do it, in my opinion, and according to every car manual on the face of the planet, is to crisscross them. So keep that in mind. Probably don't want to film this part. If you're a good friend, you can set that down and help me lift this wheel.
Fine.
Ta-da! Today.
That was totally not a pain.
No, with a little extra elbow grease, it's no problem. So, moral of the story is, if you're gonna have a big truck, you also have to have friends.
And in stereotypical fashion, this is exactly the same as taking it off, just in reverse order.
What I like to do is get a couple started, and then I can kind of zip them on and get them mostly tight before hitting them with the torque wrench. So I've got 2 there. So now it's seated. This one didn't feel too good, so I want to run it back out and check it. There we go. So it's tentatively on. I don't recommend relying on just the torque of the gun, because especially with these new ones, you can really actually over torque it and snap the stud. So I just kind of like to run them until they stop, and then I'll come back and check them all with the torque wrench before I put the spikes back on. Okay, let me grab my torque wrench and my extension. So you don't have to have the world's most expensive, most accurate torque wrench. This is a Tecton from Amazon. Has really good reviews, and I pretty much only use it for doing lug nuts.
And what do you set into 2?
Torque spec is 120. Again, for my peace of mind, since it is a Chinesium torque wrench, I usually go up to about 130. Just for my peace of mind. You know, your mileage may vary.
Probably also a good idea to recheck these after a few dozen miles of driving.
Yeah, it really is. I'm not going to say I've been the best, most diligent person about all of that, but yes, you should do that, absolutely. Thinking about investing in some torque stick extensions. That way I could use the impact to tighten them. If you've never watched a YouTube video on how torque sticks work, it's actually really cool. It's about harmonics and stuff. And so specifically when you use an impact, it'll stop at a certain torque range. But we are all set. So I'll put it down and put the spikes back on and be done with this one.
This is the same method for putting them on as you took them off.
Yep, and notice I don't over tighten these. I don't go crazy. I'm on the lowest setting on here, and once it starts hammering, I quit. It's just snug enough. Let the O-ring do the work. All right, this one's done, so I guess let's check up the other side and do the other front right quick, and then we can do the rears and set it back on the ground and program them.
Okay, we still got programming to do. So now we did a rotation. There's a TPMS that needs reprogramming.
Yep, and once we get all these done, we'll get to that and show you the handy little cheap tool you can use to do it.
All right, I think we're going to jump ahead. Since this is the same thing, just on the whole 4 corners, you just got 3 more to do, so
we're at the last step, which is just reassigning or reprogramming, as some people call it, the TPMS, tire pressure monitoring sensors. And the reason you do that is, I mean, right now the truck still knows there are 4 tires and what the pressure is, but since we crisscrossed them, it thinks the left front is really the right rear, and so on and so forth. So if you ever had an issue going down the road, it would tell you the wrong tire had the issue. So there's a simple learning procedure you program on the dash. You use this little guy right here, and it'll just honk at you as you program each sensor. Couldn't be easier. Reason I chose this one is, doing this myself, I've been to multiple tire shops to have them program it, and they say they can't program it because the wheels are too wide. And they've tried, and every now and then they would pick up a sensor, and it was just a big pain in the butt. So this little guy on Amazon, I think, was like $13, does GM and Ford, G and F, and works like a champ off a 9-volt battery. And it was just hysterical that, Discount Tire or, a 50-year-old tire shop couldn't program these, but this little guy can.
So is there a name brand on that, or is this Amazon search for TPMS
yeah,
programmer?
I would just search for one that looks like this, that has good reviews. Most of them are GM or GM and Ford. But the wavelength of them you can see in the comments if it works with your Toyota or Nissan or whatever you got. But yeah, $20 or less, you can do it yourself. Keep it in your toolbox. Runs off a 9-volt battery. It's a no-brainer.
Right.
So
what do we gotta do?
So I've got to hop in, start it, and start programming. Okay, so you get over here on your info page, and you come down to your tire pressure, and you hold the button, and it'll honk at you to say it's starting. Okay, so I get out and I go to the front left tire. Line it up with the valve stem. It honks to say it's got that one. Line it up with the valve stem. Honk. There it goes. And it honks twice to show that it's programmed, and so we're done.